So that's even more important with neurodivergent kids, but still it's harder for them because they don't love those conversations, and it's hard to know when and how to have those conversations and to do it in small batches at a time instead of trying to have one big discussion. It's like leaving breadcrumbs every now and then for them to follow. But the principle of that is hugely important, right? One, being mindful about how much are we pushing versus not pushing, and are we being deliberate in that, or are we letting things slide just because right in this moment it's easier, or are we intentionally saying we just need to give them a little bit of a break, and then we'll keep looking at maybe a smaller task or a smaller thing. Maybe this volunteering might be too much at this point. It may be just right, or maybe it's not going to be enough. But at least you're thinking about that and trying to decide how much do we jump into this. And if not that, then what's the next thing? And if it means just getting more on a regular workout schedule, like getting out of the house to go do something, or running errands, or helping with grocery shopping, or working in the garden, all those kind of things are important things that are better than just being holed up in the room on the phone, or really doing nothing. So,
Right. Which, of course, is where they all feel most comfortable.
yeah. And sometimes that's fine. And again, another part of this is they need more of that than maybe you or I would. And I do like my alone time too. So I can relate to that. But for us, we might be thinking, wow, this is really terrible. But for them, they may be like, yeah, this is great. Sometimes
Right.
we project our own needs or wants. Like, I can't believe they haven't hung out with somebody in like a week. That would drive me crazy. But to them, it may be, that's perfect. I only need that little bit of social stuff and I'm good for a while.
Well, and I
So,
am grateful that I have the opportunity in both of my kids. If I say, "How's your mental health?" they answer me honestly. And that's helpful because you can get a gauge. Sometimes what I think they have going on is not enough for me. And you're right. Then I project and they're like, "Oh, no, I'm good." I'm like,
right.
"Oh, never mind."
Yeah. So, then again, that's if there's a way to take their temperature, so to speak, or have those conversations, then yeah, that is so helpful because then we will not, again, I think our nature is to just project what we think they need or want. If their brain functions differently than ours, or their social needs are different than ours, then we can, as parents, get really concerned about things that aren't really a concern for them. Now, you've got to be careful in that thought process too, because, like I said, if they want to hole up in their room and that's all they want to do, then that's not practical in this world either, right? They've got to be able to get out and do some things and earn a living, or and maybe they don't have to get out. Maybe they find an online career where they can work and do things like that, and they don't have to go out into the world very often. But helping them learn those life skills to be able to manage going to the grocery store and picking up, getting some food and coming back. But geez, in this day and age, who knows? Maybe just DoorDash everything, or have a job that can do it. Maybe they don't really
Yeah.
need that, do that. But I think the point being, obviously, we want to learn as many life skills and ability to navigate this world and navigate our culture and our society, and have some balance of in real world activities versus all virtual online or just solitary. So trying to find those balances. And again, how we started this conversation was how hard do you push? Because if you push too hard, then you just create one more trauma that they may be traumatized by you pushing them too hard, or they may be traumatized by the experience. And then it's just one more thing on the big pile of this isn't going to work, or I can't do this, or I'm not good enough, or something along those lines, right? I'm not like
And it
everybody
and it
else, or
breaks the
whatever.
trust. I mean, we worked pretty hard to get a trusting relationship, and you really hate to do anything to damage that.
Yeah. So talk about that trusting relationship. I think that's a good point. Like, what did you do to build the trust with him?
Well, a lot of it was starting to work with you, to be honest, because it's very easy to get caught up in that. Well, and it's a generational thing. My husband and I both looked at, well, this is what we were doing at this age. This is what they both should be doing. Well, the world has changed dramatically because of technology. And young adults are really smart in some ways and not real world smart in other ways because they have spent thousands of hours on their devices, which wasn't around when I was growing up. So I think the first thing we had to learn, and being able to talk to you about it really helped, was he's on a different path. It's a different path, and that's okay. And once we were really able to internalize that, we were able to demonstrate to him we see that and we're okay with it. And that really built trust with him, that it was no longer we were at odds over things or trying to push him in ways that he just wasn't ready for. And you can tell yourself that you're going to do that, but until you really internalized it and believe in it, they're going to know because stuff's going to come out of your mouth that shouldn't. So
Yeah,
I'd
or
say the
just
first,
sideways looks or right, incredulous looks or disappointment or something
they
like
know
that,
when
right?
you're
Right.
disappointed in them, even if you're
Yeah.
silent, they know.
Yeah.
And my husband and I were both on different paths in terms of getting there, but we both got there. And I'm very grateful that we did because it's made things tremendously easier.
Right.
Because when I do ask, do you want to do this? Do you want to do that? He knows he can say no. And I'm not going to flip out on him or I'm not going to push harder or say, you really should be doing this because I don't do that. Now, at the same time, it's that balance of letting go and accommodating versus pushing. But at the same time, I can go back to the well multiple times and say, well, would you like to do this? Would you like to do that? Would you like to do this? And I get honest answers.
Right. Like we talked about a lot before too, and this is one of those first important steps that parents that'll make a big difference in their parenting and their relationship with their teen or young adult is understanding the neurodiversity. There are things that they are going to struggle with. And it's not because they're being lazy, it's not because they're being oppositional or something along those lines. There may be things that they just cannot do quite yet or don't have the executive functioning. And as a parent, you may look at them and say, well, they can do X, Y, and Z. How come they can't clean their room on a consistent basis? Or they're really good at focusing on the things they care about, but they don't help around the house or they don't pick up after themselves. But if you understand that the issues with executive functioning and how it works, or attention deficit or autism spectrum, if you get the understanding of where these behaviors are coming from, then you can approach it in an authentic way. You understand that they have some limitations that may be puzzling and may look contradictory at times and may make you scratch your head, but it's not that willful disobedience or that not caring. They may fully intend on cleaning their room when you ask them to, and they get in there and then they start moving some stuff around. Say, oh, there's that Lego piece I lost. Now I'm gonna go put that back on the thing. And they start playing Legos. And you come in and say, hey, you're supposed to be cleaning your room. Why are you now 2 hours later just playing Legos? And they're like,
Right.
what? One, the time flew by. They had no idea what was happening, and also their full on intention may have been that, but then they just get distracted from task to task to task. And coming back around to your point is, if you understand that, then your heart changes or your mind changes and then your heart changes. So when you do approach them, you're approaching them from a place of compassion and understanding, not judgment or criticism or disappointment or anger or frustration. Those are the things that are poison to the relationship. Even
Agreed.
if they act like they don't care or it doesn't seem to phase them, all of us are definitely, we all feel that. If someone's disappointed in us and we're trying our best and we're puzzled and we can't figure it out ourselves, and then we can't explain why we can't do it, and we get in the situation where that learned helplessness develops, where you feel like no matter what you do, you're going to be in trouble. And whenever you're asked to do something, you're concerned yourself whether you can get it done or not. And then you're probably going to frustrate somebody or your mom or dad's going to be mad. That's why it's so important to understand neurodiversity in general. And then not only that, but then what brand or what version or what flavor of neurodiversity does your particular kid have, and where do they struggle and what are their strengths, and try to capitalize on some of those strengths and whatever their interests are, try to nurture those interests, and at the same time teach them life skills and help them learn to navigate some of the things they need to navigate. And that's a lot of work for a parent. I definitely want to be encouraging, like it can be done. And once you understand the puzzle, it goes to get together a lot faster. And you're less upset. You're coming from a place of understanding and compassion and assistance rather than criticism, disappointment, and anger. Then
Yep.
you can work with them to find solutions.